Welcome to another edition of the ISB podcast, the Copa America edition, the one where we cover all the Copa America matches, and we have reached the quarterfinals of Copa America. Rahi has joined us now in addition to Roy. And guys, we had a very exciting game today because the U.S. men's national team the U.S. men's national team was not, but our neighbors from the north were taking on Venezuela. And boys, they got it done.
Oh, Canada, my home and native land.
What a day for maple syrup, for poutine, for anything Canadian, Roy. Give me something else Canadian. I need to.
Shania Twain.
Oh,
Shania Twain. Is she Canadian?
Twain, Celine Dion, Justin Bieber, Drake,
Ryan Gosling.
They're all celebrating. I bet they all watched that game. I bet you Justin Bieber was watching that game.
He better have.
It's possible, but
he's a soccer guy. I don't see why not.
So, yeah.
So in all reality, we do have. Obviously, I have a close friend who's Venezuelan as well. But for Canada, we used to travel to Canada quite a bit when we were younger, and after the Nations League, we did party with the Canadian national team, and they're all very nice people at a club in Las Vegas. So we do have that affinity. But okay, let's get into the match now. Where do we start? Who wants to start it off? Because this was a wild match. We've been watching a lot of football matches in the last month, and this one probably might have been the most interesting. I'll use the word interesting.
This wasn't a football match. This was a soccer match. That's what this was. Yeah. When you say this was a soccer match,
say it how it is.
Okay,
you made a good comparison. Match.
Yeah, Roy, what was your comparison? Let's hear it.
Okay, so this entire match, especially the penalty kick shootout, especially Venezuela's goal, just everything about it was a classic MLS game. It had moments of brilliance. It had moments where you're just scratching your head saying, what the F did that guy just do? That makes absolutely no sense. There were some tactical quirks with Jesse Marsch tied or winning 1-0, pushing his entire team in the opposing half to try to get a second goal. And then Venezuela just clears it. And it's a one-on-one with Rondon and Bombito. And then Rondon just pummels him and chips it over Crepeau, who's 40 yards out.
I think Jesse told Crepeau to go in the box too for the throw-in. He told the whole team, get up there. Maxime, what are you doing in the box, man? You need to be scoring goals.
It freaking makes sense. It's it's so many MLS players on both sides. But Bombito's an MLS guy. Schaffelberg's, Crepeau's an MLS guy. Like half of Canada is MLS, which is another sign. Like, what the heck did the U.S. do? We have all European. Anyways, that's a separate
topic.
All MLS guys, chaotic, insane, fun. That's why I love MLS. That's why I'm really enjoying this Canadian national team. It's watching a car crash, and then they all survive this time, which is nice. So.
Yeah, it is nice. So let's talk about the first goal, because we've been talking about Jacob Schaffelberg for a while. He had a nice goal against the U.S., Rahi, in the Gold Cup, if you remember that. And we were like, okay, this kid from Nova Scotia can play a little bit, and then he's had a nice rise after that.
No, he can definitely play, and the thing he does is he goes direct and he's quick and he puts a lot of pressure on defenders. He could have scored a couple goals. He had another one that was saved by Romo late in the first half. Another great move. He was the center of everything good that Canada did. Really tireless work rate, winning balls back. I think he was the most important player, which is crazy to say when you have Alphonso Davies on the field. But he was Canada's best player, and he has been Canada's best player throughout the tournament. Really an incredible performance from him, man.
Phenomenal. And you brought up Alphonso Davies. He did all right. He's done all right for most games, but he looks like one of the MLS guys, and Schaffelberg looks like the Bayern Munich guy. That's how it's been in these games. Like, I don't know if Jesse is just utilizing him in a way that is going to hide him. It's going to put him under the radar. He's winning. I don't think he's going to change that for the semifinal. Isn't that crazy? Canada in the semifinal.
We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that in a second.
Wild, but he's not utilizing Alphonso Davies right. I will say that. But what do? Do you push him up and then shift Schaffelberg to a place where he's not comfortable? Schaffelberg is their best player right now. He's their most important player. He's absolutely killing it. I'll be shocked if he's a Nashville SC player come next season, because I suspect he has a lot of eyeballs in him throughout, especially leagues like Belgium, the Dutch league, France. I mean, this kid is killing it, man.
Yeah,
he's absolutely killing
it. Let's talk about the trajectory of the match a little bit. So Canada obviously gets a goal through Schaffelberg at the beginning, and then after that, it was a slew of missed chances that were quite comical in some sense. Would you say?
I mean, they should have been up 4-0 at halftime. They were completely dominant in the first half. Venezuela giving the ball away time and time again, and Canada was quick to pounce. They just couldn't finish. I mean, the chances they created weren't just chances. They were golden chances. I mean, Jonathan David, I'm not sure what he decided to do on a one-on-one, just sort of stopped and then decided to kick the ball wide. Kyle Larin, I'm not sure he fell asleep on one that Larea puts in. Could have gotten on the end of that. They really have only themselves to blame for not being up more. They were so dominant in the first half. Canada should have been up 3 goals, Roy.
Canada is fortunate that Schaffelberg is showing the way he has, because their forwards are not. Kyle Larin hasn't stepped up this tournament. Neither has Jonathan David, and they didn't do it today either. But Schaffelberg is just owning this team right now. It's really being carried by him in the attack. Who was the assist? The assist was wonderful. Let's be real. Jonathan David, right? He had that beautiful assist on Schaffelberg's goal. But yeah, they're with players of that caliber, you expect the finishing to be really on point. You expect that to be a strength of Canada, but it's not. It's a tremendous weakness. They're creating a lot of chances, but they're not finishing they're finishing less than 20% of them, 10% of them. Their ratio is quite bad.
That opens you up to a moment of madness, which we referred to earlier, where, I don't know what Maxime Croupeau was doing, but essentially Canada, of course, had a throw in deep in Venezuelan territory. The referee doesn't call a yellow when basically the Venezuelan keeper grabs the ball out of the hand of the Canadian player. And then
was he going to fight the ref? Was that the situation? Or was it like a Jesse Marsch call to sit at the halfway line and wait for the clearance? What was it?
I don't know.
Why Croupeau was off his line, I have no idea.
He was very far off his line, unnaturally so.
I mean, Roy, you're a goalie. Why don't you tell us what's going through his mind?
I like to play like that. I like to play like Croupeau, but I play in leagues where guys can't kick like Rondon. So they're not going to be scoring on me. I'm going to sprint back for my life, and I'm going to maybe save it, but no one's going to kick like that. But I don't know what the heck he's doing. It doesn't make any sense.
I mean, he had time to. Bombito, it wasn't as if Rondon takes that first time. He kind of waits, the ball bounces back to him, and then he has a minute. So if you're Croupeau, you see you see what's happening. I'm not sure at that point why you need to be out. It's not as if there isn't a defender there. Bombito's there. So if Rondon beats Bombito, you're not going to be. I don't really understand the thinking. And then for everything to beat from there is criminal. It's just criminal. Yeah. You just cannot get beaten like that as a goalie. He almost cost his country.
He recovered. He jogged back, and then he stopped halfway through the jog, and then he's pacing backwards, and he could have gotten it. He could have he could have caught it had he sprinted back.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he almost cost his country a semifinal. I mean, that's crazy. You cannot do that in the 70th minute of a game. That's criminal, man.
That's 100% criminal. But in the end, they get through the penalty kick. So if we were to summarize the penalty kicks, what would you guys say in one word to summarize the penalty kicks?
MLS, man. It just reminded me so much of an MLS playoff game. One of Croupeau's saves, which one was it? It was one where he had already committed about a second and a half before the shot was taken. So he was diving, and the shot wasn't shot yet. He was on the post laying down, and it falls into his hands, basically. Like, this is insane. How does a goalkeeper guess so early? And he just fell onto the ball. It was unbelievable. But there were taking PKs, half of them.
I mean, there were some really bad penalties. I mean, Eustaquio's penalty was horrendous. Miller's penalty was horrendous. Herrera's penalty was horrendous. But Alphonso Davies, He was quiet the whole game. Quiet the whole game, didn't do anything. But in the biggest moment for Canada, the biggest moment, he steps up and completely knocks that through. I mean, that's a beautiful penalty in that moment of the game when you know you have to make that. I mean, it's ice in his vein. That's a great.
Yeah, you miss that and you're out, and then of course you smell Kone. You know, that's a pretty smooth penalty to win. Just like look
steps, man. I feel like they should honestly, I'm of the opinion that you shouldn't be able to stutter. I thought they got rid of that, but it's like now everyone's doing it. Even in the Euros, everyone's doing the stuttering run up. I don't like it. As a goalie, I feel it's unfair to the goalie, man.
It is. It is. You can't guess anymore as a goalkeeper because Kerpo did it and it worked out. Good thing that guy didn't stutter step. But I'm all about the one-step penalty. One step, shoot. Simple as that.
Well, look. So for all the Venezuelan fans out there, you know, it was a good tournament by winning the group, but they probably would have wanted to go farther. So, you know, we'll say hats off to Venezuela and next time around. But now let's talk. Canada's through to the semis, guys. Canada is through to the semis. That's you know, let's let that sink in. Canadian fans, congratulations to you all. Where do they go from here? And how much of this do we give credit to Jesse Marsch?
I mean, we have to give credit, right? We have to give credit because they were in a down moment. Coach had left. They had a situation where they had, you know, lost to Jamaica. We're in a good place. We're in a good place at all coming into this tournament. And he's changed the mood. He's changed the spirit. He's changed the belief. He's changed the desire. He's changed the way that people feel about Canadian soccer. Changed the way the world views Canadian soccer, to quote another manager of another team in North America. But he's doing big things so far. And for now, despite some tactical errors today, we have to give him all the credit in the world because he's got this team believing. And they deserve to be in the semifinals. Let that sink in. Canada deserves to be in the semifinals of the Copa America. You disagree, Roy?
Maybe. I think Canada's run to the quarterfinal was the opposite of the US's in terms of luck. I think the US had terrible luck, and it's not luck because it's a decision that Timothy Weah made.
Well, we're talking about Canada, Roy. We're not talking about we're talking about Canada. Tell me about Canada.
I think they were very fortunate. I think Canada was very fortunate in the group stage. They played 2 games a man up for a majority of those games. They lost the other game, but they did what they had to do. They got lucky again to play Venezuela in the quarters. I mean, their path is simple to the finals. Their group games were
simple to the finals?
To the semi, sorry. To the semi.
Now they have it.
Because my next question for you, Roy, this is my next question. And be honest with me now.
This is for Messi, not
for
him.
Roy is American. He's also a little Canadian, or he'd like to believe he's a little Canadian. But he's also very certainly Argentinian. So I have a very honest question for you, Roy. What is your level of fear? What is your level of fear about Argentina not beating Canada in this semifinal?
It's none. And
like
I don't want to keep my words later. I don't 3.6 maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
3.6 out of 10. That's 35%. Or 36%, whatever you just said.
It's not a percentage. It's a
3.5 out of 10 is 35%.
It's an F. It's an F in terms of my fear.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
So it's a low one, but I think how much do we credit Jesse? He's going to get a lot of credit, I think. Is it entirely deserved? I think this is more a manager bounce than anything else. We see it all the time across club teams, across national teams. They get a new manager. They're excited. They're playing full force. I don't think we've seen this team fully develop his tactical system or the way he wants them to play. I don't think that's the reason they're winning at all. But you got to give him credit. His attitude probably plays a big part. He has what Berhalter does not, which is that people want to die for this team. People are fighting. They're giving it their all. You don't get that from the U.S. So I give him credit in that sense. From a motivational perspective, I think he's really stepped it up from past coaches. Herdman was that way as well. But tactical, we're not seeing it yet. Tactical, we saw it in the goal when they got scored on. So hard to say that they're here because of Jesse. I think they're here because the timing is right. It's a manager bounce. It's all these things.
And the players. And they have good. I mean, let's be honest. Canada has good players. Canada has the best player in North America. and one of the 5 best players in this tournament, maybe even one of the 3 best players that's right. He's going to go to Real Madrid, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Messi, James, you know,
I wouldn't put James there. I wouldn't put James.
Come on,
Have you been watching how James been playing? Have you been watching how James been playing?
Colombia
Anyway,
is good, but James.
that's what I'm saying.
We're
talking about Copa. We're talking about Copa America. We're talking about
So,
Copa America. So
yeah,
you're.
so
I would agree.
maybe
with
he's
you, yeah.
5, right? So Vinny, right?
Yeah, we don't
James,
need to name him. We don't need to name him. Whatever, that's fine. But no, to your point, I think the one thing that I want to say is Roy mentioned MLS, and I think that, you know, the level of grit and tenacity and all that kind of stuff that is needed in the Copa America, right, is needed in this tournament. You see the teams that do well in Copa America are the teams that have that attitude. These guys have it, and I think to all the Canucks out there, you should be proud of that. And you know, I would say that yes, maybe next match is going to be very hard, but if you show that tenacity, you never know.
You never know.
Look at the Ecuador-Argentina game.
So good.
Yeah, okay, but you have to marry it with some pragmatism. You have to be more pragmatic than you were today. Like heart is important, but against Argentina, for all our sakes, please, a little more control, a little more discipline.
Yeah.
Yes, you can't be doing what Crepeau did against Argentina, but I think if they increase the discipline by 30%, keep the heart and the passion and the grit at the same level, they could very well do what Ecuador did. They could take them into penalties, and with no extra time, anyone could win these matches. Anyone could win these matches. There's no extra time. Just get to the final whistle at 0-0 or 1-1. Canada could pull something interesting off here.
All right. Well, let's see how the Canadians do. To all the Canadian fans out there, congratulations. If these videos are something you're enjoying, please subscribe to the channel. And we will say today, Vamos Copa America. Vamos Canada.
Vamos Canada.
Canada, our home and patriot.